Hello, I'm here with Kyler Brady. Hi, Kyler. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for joining me today and taking the time for it. So, Kyler, tell me more about your background. Like, share your journey a bit with our audience. We have CarePoint and how the organization has grown, what's your role into it, how you scale, and how is it a physician-led platform?
Yeah. So at CarePoint, we are 100% physician-owned emergency medicine practice. For the most part, we do have some other specialties, but about 80% of our business is in emergency medicine. We have neurology, physical medicine or rehabilitation, hospital medicine, as well as a big telemedicine platform in neurology as well. I've kind of done a smorgasbord of work at CarePoint. So I've kind of touched a little bit of everything, which kind of keeps me a little well-rounded. But I focus a lot of my time in the revenue cycle spot. We have a third-party billing company, but I have kind of got into some sort of like a niche that I am very familiar with, which is kind of the billing of healthcare. And I oversee, our 1.3 million encounters that we will have this year. So my evolution through CarePoint is I've kind of started from outpatient world into, I've done recruitment, marketing, I've done anything from the rev cycle stuff to payer contracting, a little bit of everything. And, I think with our platform and where we're heading in our footprint, we have a lot of opportunity here at CarePoint.
Yeah. And where is you feel more comfortable in which area?
Yeah, the rev cycle spot is kind of my comfort zone. I naturally am an operator, but I kind of I have a knack for kind of sleuthing out billing deficiencies and issues with billing companies. So I kind of every step of the way of my career over the past 10, 15 years, I always have kind of get a little pigeonholed to some extent into the rev cycle world.
Okay, very, very, very interesting. Tell us a bit, what are your, in terms of, let's say, software and engineering side, scaling, how do you manage the interplay of clinical workflows, device, IT systems, regulatory expectation, security?
Sure. I mean, I'm not crazy immersed into our IT security. Obviously, we have an IT team. I do not oversee that team, but we certainly have, security measures that are put in place to make sure that we are secure. We use, we have a Google Suite, which has kind of encryption capabilities if we are sharing any patient information. We have chats that are involved with that if it's all encrypted. Like a software perspective, we run a lot out of Power BI. We store a lot in Azure from the cloud, and we have a lot of APIs both from the hospital and from our billing company. So what we try to get is some feeds. I wouldn't say it's a lot, but we have a kind of a storage base or kind of a data warehouse, I think is what we call it, to kind of be able to digest the data and then kind of spit that back out so we can kind of analyze kind of on the rev cycle point of view or on the quality side of healthcare as well.
Okay, very interesting. It seems that it's a bit different than it's in Europe. We cannot deliver even to the patient itself any data with that being encrypted and having a two-factor authentication or some double protection layer over it.
Yeah, our stuff is all encrypted. I mean, there's no when we do have PHI, we do have to encrypt at all times. For example, if we're in our Google environment, it is encrypted because you have two-factor authentication to get into it and those sort of things. But we are able to share patient information in that platform, and it is HIPAA protected. HIPAA is in the United States is kind of PHI protection, and that is the Google Suite is HIPAA approved.
Okay, so you are let's say backed by Google infrastructure wise.
What was that? I'm sorry.
You are backed by Google infrastructure wise.
Yeah.
So you are the Google Web Services and cloud services for
correct. Yeah, we use we feel like it's kind of the most robust platform for our use case, and we've been very happy. I mean, they have all sorts of different options for our business.
What are you using for like front end patient interaction and like workflows for the clinicians and the patient interaction?
Yeah, so we're uniquely kind of positioned in general. So we contract with hospitals for professional services. So we as CarePoint don't actually own the software. We don't have anything really contractually obligated to any software system. The hospital is what that is, kind of houses that. So like HCA, which is the facilities that we're primarily in, they have the contract with the EMR, and they are also the medical custodian of the record. So we are obviously documenting within that EMR, but we are not storing any of that data in-house. That is all stored by the hospital.
You're just facilitating then.
Yeah. Now we can get the note, and then there's an encryption process to be able to extract the note, and if we need it from a billing perspective, et cetera. But we are, we have a statute that, you have to hold on to the record for 7 to 10 years and, be able to give that back to the patients. In our arrangement, our professional services agreement with our hospital systems, we are not responsible for that. So that's a kind of another way that, that's a lot of responsibility from a, HIPAA or a, um, PHI perspective
Yeah,
that we don't have that risk because documenting in a different EMR, more or less.
very interesting. And do you have any like direct exposure to the Medfield and MedTech standards like IEC 62304, ISO 13485, which is the just generic quality standard, or the any FDA compliance that you need to have?
We don't personally. I'm sure the hospital has to hold up those
For
compliances.
sure. For sure.
But kind of like I said, of those, 1.3 million encounters, all of the PHI is actually stored in a different system. So
Mhm.
we don't have to uphold by those
Also,
regulations.
more in the direction of like how do you assure your internal QA quality assurance? How do you do it, or what's your management process there?
Yeah, so we do get a feed going, kind of we have an API feed that's coming from the hospital system or the hospital EMR.
Uh-huh.
And what we've done is kind of digested some of that data to be able to spit out de-identified scorecards is kind of the way that we do this. So we pick out several different quality metrics, and our data team that's internal, they kind of sift through and filter out the information, but it's all de-identified, but it shows kind of the docs where they're standing from sepsis scores and where the RVUs are at. And we probably have like 20 different metrics that we're looking to how much, how long length of stay for a patient, or how long are you with a patient? Those type of things are common scenarios that we look at. But from a security perspective, we sift through and de-identify.
Okay. How I have another more of a curiosity. Like you emphasize with clinician-led culture. How could you scale up to 26 states and 1.3 million encounters in and still being clinician-led?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We are one of the rare commodities in the United States. Most groups are either employed by the hospital, right, or there's private equity that's involved, right? So
Yes.
we kind of look at it, we're a unique kind of opportunity, and it's actually attractive to a lot of physicians, right? They're going to make decisions. We have equal partnership amongst our group. So, um, we have a kind of we do a 3-year track to partnership. So we have 300 plus equal partners. And, um, it's really fruitful for people that want a voice and, don't want to kind of get caught up in a system. We really encourage that, but I think the reason how we've been sustainable and be able to scale is the ability to give them a voice. For physician led in our administration perspective, as well as our ownership is only physicians.
Okay. In this scale, what's the software or what technical challenges did you guys have in scaling and ramping up?
Yeah, I think it's a hot topic with AI right now, right? I mean, I think we're trying to lean into innovation as much as humanly possible. We see everything written on the wall that, nurses might go away, or potentially AI could take over a position. We're kind of in a position that if you don't use and lean into AI, I think we're going to get left behind a little bit. So we're really trying to be very mindful of the AI that we're dabbling into and the AI that is useful. In the healthcare space, there are, every day it seems like there's a new AI platform that's being built. So I think it is something that is going to revolutionize a lot of healthcare. And I think what we're trying to figure out is how can we utilize this AI to help our physicians become more efficient, make better choices, hopefully help with some work-life balance and that sort of thing. Because ultimately, the big rub right now is this AI that could say, "Here's my recommendation on dosage of Tylenol," right? And it's ultimately the liability is actually up to the physician and not the AI. So it's used as a crutch to some extent. But what where we start seeing some rub is if the AI spits out a recommendation and the doc may not, approve that, or if they go through with it, are they medically legally liable for that situation? So there's a lot of compliance swirling around everything. We're using a couple different platforms kind of voluntarily,
I'm
but it's
curious, what something generic what we were using?
yeah, so there's been a couple, and I know one that's we work with very closely with which is kind of ambient listening.
Mhm.
So this is kind of for documentation of notes. So you have your
For the clinicians, I assume, or just for you internally for your team?
yeah, this is just for the clinician side. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, clinicians are using ambient listening to help their note. Instead of having a human scribe, the ambient listening seems to be kind of replacing that in the industry. And actually, it seems to be better at documenting, right? And we're seeing an increase in our docs' productivity and kind of a work-life balance of just not having 12 notes to have to do and sign at the end of their shift. So it's been a good endeavor. And go ahead.
Here is where I wanted to get you. I don't think we will be, or what I see, we're just enabled to do more with AI. Now, I
Uh,
know what happens in the background. My major is in AI and machine learning with my computer science background. So I kind of understand the mathematical background of it. I'm not that close to it anymore, but used to be 15 years ago. I just say it just makes us better. And the generative AI, when it comes to generative AI, it just does what it tells, generates. If it
mm,
doesn't have an answer, it invents one. And I
sure.
think it will enable us for new ideas and how to use in very, very fruitful ways. Of course, some will have to reconvert professionally to suffer a bit, but this is change, right? Or that's when we integrate to our clients, for example, also regardless of domain, we limit the models or try to go into the agentic AI, which has a very, very narrow job and just we adapt the model to do just that job very, very well.
Sure.
And that's how we use it and we integrate it in our daily engineering and development platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to be, kind of careful, in general, if we're due to liability, situations. I mean, we're in an open environment, have the docs that are still responsible for the note, right? If AI throws out a note back to the physician and they don't review it and they AI hallucinates, they could be liable, right? So we're very mindful of that. Again, we're trying to utilize this as a tool to help
Exactly.
the position and become more efficient and honestly accurate, right? And I think there is a platform that some of our physicians are using privately. We actually we don't pay for this as a company or anything of that sort. But I've seen a lot of webinars on it, but it's called Open Evidence,
Okay.
and I've heard a lot of doctors using this, and it's an AI platform that instead of like ChatGPT based, where you have the whole web that it's searching off of, this open evidence is I don't know the in-depth detail. I just saw a talk on this, but the open evidence is pulling just from like the New England Journal and very credible healthcare platforms that is helping the physicians answer, you know, really any question that they kind of questioning to kind of figure out, what's going on with the patient. So they're using it as an assistant, more or less on guidance or, any kind of different angles that they can take on a patient. And I think that's where again it's de-identified and they're just asking pointed pointed questions, and that's what's been kind of useful. I think at this conference that I was at, every physician that was at this conference had used this open evidence platform to ask it questions and that sort of thing, and they find it to be very useful and help them become more efficient.
Yep. That's what we see changing and adapting to it. So now let's move a bit in the, let's say, business side. For organizations looking to scale medtech companies or medtech platforms, tech platforms, for example, that's what my focus is. What's one or two pieces of advice you would give them?
Yeah, I think just having a true use case and trying to generate a pure ROI and trying to prove that, right? I've had a bazillion calls with these type of companies, and I think the piece that struggles is it's still so beta that we don't know if it actually is going to improve revenue, really improve anything other than we have this kind of fancy, shiny little thing behind the scenes, right? So I think what I would always want to see is just how do you prove a proven concept is always very beneficial. And then, kind of the scale that what is separating you from the 500 others in the same industry, right? And then obviously having some sort of is it going to reduce our cost, or are we going to get a return on our investment? Those are the kind of the things that we're paying attention to very
So
closely.
basically, what the USP,
What's that?
sorry, what was the unique selling proposition for the clients, or how they're reducing something, or what's the benefit of the
Yeah, like
overall
a
system?
prime example, and we don't do our billing in house, so this is a viewpoint, but I was on a call with a kind of in the revenue cycle spot of it, and they use these bots more or less, or this AI to scrub the charts, right, and be able to avoid denials, and it was very very slick, right. Well, we third party out our billing, right.
Yep.
If we did not third party out our billing, this product could potentially bolt on to like our in-house billers if we had them, and potentially say we had 60 in-house billers, this product could change that 60 to 5 really quickly, right?
Yep.
And that to me is tangible ROI. It didn't work out for us because we do have a third party that does this for us, right? But if we did in-house billing, this would be a serious conversation to say, okay, can you reduce your resource of, call it 60 employees, and reduce that down to 5, bolt this on at some percentage of revenue, and next thing you know, you have a extensive ROI, right? Or return on investment. So that in a nutshell is what I want to see when we come into these conversations, is how is this going to kind of help me help you scenario.
Yeah, totally agree. By the way, one of our platforms, it's just this. It does billing with using AI agents and automatic completion and so on. I assume it's not specialized on medtech. It's a more generic one. Yeah, we managed to go in and connect to government data sets and so on. So you just write 3 letters and it auto completes your invoice, your billing system, your payments, and so on. It also connects to your like 20 banks or so.
Yeah, like our billing company, they have a platform that they use that is like they ping, to try to find to practically find insurance for patients that went through the emergency room and they didn't have their card or anything like that. And then it goes down this path where they're not responding. And they're pinging like credit bureaus and doing all of these different options to try to find these people more or less to be able to get the accurate insurance information so we can process the claim. So there's a lot of things that are kind of happening behind the scenes. We've also dabbled in automated coding for
Yep.
our medical claims as well. But again, our billing company kind of bolts these onto their platform. It's not directly with us, if that makes sense. But we're definitely exposed to it quite a bit.
By the way, do you have a technical department or some engineering internally, or it's just everything
Yeah,
is
we do. We
external?
have an IT department. It's not large. Like I said, we don't have, a lot of our services. We're in other systems, and there's not a lot of internal systems that we have to maintain. We do obviously have internal, chats and email and all of these different things. And there are some platforms that we use for contract storage and those sort of things. But we do have a team. We have an IT manager, and there's a few people underneath. We do have a data team as well, that I think is probably about three folks that are mining data and that sort of thing, but not a massive, robust IT department. And kind of like I said, we don't have a massive need because we're so immersed in the hospital systems and that sort of thing.
And you work with their systems.
Yeah, we work in their system. So like a prime example is our doctor goes into a hospital in Denver metro area. We are working in their electronic medical record, not ours.
Okay, finally, like if we look fast forward 5 years, what does a successful scaled CarePoint or in generally MedTech company look like to you,
Yes.
considering the AI and technology and what's on the table right now?
Yeah, there's two heads, right? I think there's the business side of it, which is more on the admin side of the fence, and then there's the clinical side of it that we kind of both dabble in, right? I'll give kind of my 1,000-foot view vision on what I see in 5 years. Uh, I think like a billing situation, that's going to turn from, if you have 100 people on your staff or on our account, I think that's going to shrink down to like 5. I think bots are going to be handling a lot of this. I think it's going to be bot versus bot with fighting with insurance companies, right? So I think that's going to start automating a lot more. I think coding is probably going to start to become very autonomous, where instead of a human coder that currently we have today, I think that's going to be shifted to autonomous or reduced to a very small amount of humans that are overseeing the things that it kind of spit out that are out of normal.
Do you
You're
have
fine.
a coding team?
Do we have a
Like,
coding team?
yeah,
No, we again, it's through our third party billing company, but they have a coding team, and they are doing a hybrid of autonomous coding and human coding.
why I wanted to ask if you reduce the team now in the context of AI.
Yeah, I think that they have. It is a little. I don't see all of the mechanicisms, but I believe that they've reduced their team a little bit, and then added this autonomous coding. The autonomous coding in general is not perfect, so it has not been that way. So they're doing better than they have 6 months ago, but there still has to be a lot of human intervention to kind of aid that program. But so we're not doing it directly, but the company that works on our behalf for the billing thing, they are doing it's a hybrid autonomous coding.
Yeah, definitely agree. So I can see two sides of the coin. One is very advanced and good software engineers get better. Nobody wants to take juniors anymore because of AI.
Mhm.
And the other side I see for example, for law companies, they do not want to take seniors anymore because they generate everything with AI and just hire juniors to validate it.
Sure.
So it's definitely changing, and we're going somewhere which I think we can just speculate and guess
Yeah.
where we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think vision of the business side of the fence and the things that I'm involved with is I think the whole revenue cycle in healthcare billing is going to be autonomous eventually. I think there will be some human intervention, but not a lot. That's my vision in 5 years. I think on the clinician side of the fence, I think like hospital triage. I think there's going to be some sort of an AI agent that is going to be able to kind of tell you more advanced at home that says, "Hey, you should probably go to the hospital. This is serious," or this is something you can take care of with your primary care. And I think there's going to be these payers are probably going to want some sort of an AI agent to kind of aid some of that stuff on what's serious and what's not. Today, it's kind of a judgment call, and it's taxing, obviously the system to some extent.
Do you see it going somewhere where if you pay more, if you pay more for your insurance, you will have access to a human being for the triage? If not, you will just have an AI agent telling you when you can get in or not.
I think that's a valid point. I don't know. To be honest with you, I haven't really thought about that.
It just popped up now as an idea because I
Yeah.
know how different the European systems in general are compared to the US one. And we do not basically here, everyone pays the same insurance or approximately the same. There are no big gaps or differences, and it's universal healthcare. But in the US, it's quite different, and everything
Sure.
is more into the private. It's like
Yeah,
that.
I could see some sort of a platform that's like that. Obviously, AI, once you build it, it's not free, but it works for itself, right? You don't have to, once it's built, right? So I could see that. I could see a lot of hospital systems going into like medical triage with AI agents, opposed to having, a triage nurse or something of that sort that's handling that today. So that's kind of where I see it. I think we're very far away from, AI agents replacing physicians. I do think that, the world of like radiology or like a dermatology type of thing is going to be revolutionized for sure. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in those spaces specifically of interpreting images or, being able to take a picture on your phone about, hey, I got this rash, and it tells you the severity of the rash and those sort of things, right?
Even more like into like CT scanning and MIs and so on. So I think their AI will really revolutionize and support for diagnostics and maybe see what the human eye doesn't see yet.
Yeah, what I would love to see is, reduce radiation, if there's specific scans that the AI could pick up, different things opposed to having a CT and MRI, for example. You just have a MRI, right? And then it picks up the little things that you
Yep.
need for possible that a CT. So yeah, I think I would love to kind of see AI, kind of be able to make things more efficient and be more of a screening tool opposed to, it's intrusive. I want it to be like more of a tool than anything and be resourceful opposed to taking things over.
Okay. So Kyler Brady, thank you for your time and thank you for taking the call with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always nice to talk through some of this stuff. It's a ever changing platform for sure. And like I said, every day something changes. So
I'm curious where it will be not in 5 years, but in 6 months.
I'm with you. I feel like the past 6 months, a lot has changed. Right.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.